What is going on, everybody? It's just your boy Betzky today. We are going to start breaking down some bets. This will probably be a little bit of a segment we start doing on the Clean Hits channel and in my Twitter. Let me just get this all reposted and notify everybody that wants to join us. But give me 1 second. And then what we're going to do today is start breaking down some best bets for your NHL futures, some specific around the Utah Hockey Club as well. And then we got to look at that game tomorrow. We got the Jersey Devils versus the Buffalo Sabres in Czechoslovakia. We got them tomorrow and Saturday. So same two teams are going to be playing the first two games of the NHL season. We are back, baby. So we are going to let some people trickle in before we really start breaking things down. Let me get my screen share going. Sorry, this is kind of the first time going solo with all this, but we will be doing this all season now. So get ready. All right, here we go. Let me see if I can make these a little bit bigger or me smaller or what. There we go. That's nice, right? Please feel free to give me some comments as we go through this. Just kind of let me know what looks good, what looks bad. As far as the production stuff, again, I'm pressing all the buttons, doing all the talking, doing everything. So I know we got some new bettors here, especially some new NHL bettors. Maybe you are from Utah, a big fan of the Utah Hockey Club, and kind of want to learn a little bit more about getting in on some NHL action betting wise. So I just kind of want to highlight some tools that I love. First of all, props.cash. I mean, if you don't have props.cash and you love sports betting, what are you doing? They have the cleanest graphics, the best kind of analysis on current trends, and they got tons of data for you to use. So you can see on here on the right-hand side, we can look at Jersey Devils defense, where they're ranking from last year's data points. You can kind of go through all the different props. So we have shots on goal, aka SOGs. We got goals, points. And then when there's multiple games throughout the season, you always have kind of that game drop down button. So you can kind of jump between games and start looking through your player props, all that fun stuff. Again, props.cash. This is kind of the main tool I use for a lot of my day-to-day research. There is a promo code Betzky, and you get 25% off your first month. Fantastic tool. I use it all season, have been using it for years now. It's definitely a go-to piece of machinery, if you will, for the sports betting. Another website I love, Shot Props with a Z.com. This is from Shot Props, the man himself. You can find him on Twitter at Shot Props with that Z. He manages all this data. Right now, we are looking at last year's data, but he has a nice, easy way to kind of see some different breakdowns for goals against by position. You can see with our drop downs here, we can do shots against by position, team defense overview. I think this is going to load up into the playoff. Sweet. He's got the whole season long info from last year already. So I can quickly go here, shotprops.com, find goals against per game by team, shots against by team, power play opportunities given to opponents. So this is going to be when you're wanting to kind of dabble in power play point props. You can kind of figure out which teams are allowing the most power plays against. And then obviously penalty kill percent. So in this case, the top team, Carolina, has the best penalty kill. Go all the way to the bottom. New York Islanders had the worst penalty kill last season. Still kind of mind blowing, but there it is. You're the thing. I thought it was the Ducks. Man, Minnesota right behind them too. Again, this is from last year's full season long data. As we get into this NHL season, Shot Props will keep all this data refreshed. I think he does it multiple times a week. So this becomes a critical piece of kind of putting together the data to help you select good angles for your NHL bets, especially in kind of that shots on goal, point props territory here for your player props. So again, between props.cash and shop props, these are kind of my two favorite resources. Again, promo code Betzky for props.cash for 25% off your first month. Great way to get started with the NHL starting. And again, if you're just joining today, what we're going to be doing is going through some of my favorite NHL future bets. I think we'll just kind of use some of the DraftKings odds just to kind of take a look at what we got there. And then I really want to kind of dabble into the two European games, which again are going to be the New Jersey Devils and the Buffalo Sabres, both games back to back in Czechoslovakia. There's always some interesting angles with these European games, don't forget, because they are, I believe they are played on European ice, which means we have a bigger rink. That generally leads to less goals. That generally leads to less shots. So kind of keep that in the back of your mind. These are games that I'm probably going to just kind of highlight some of my favorite props. Maybe put a little same game parlay out tomorrow. So keep your eyes out on that for some of the NHL action at Gretzky Betzky's Twitter account. And then, of course, the other big factor with these games are the European players. So if you have not watched these games before, the first couple games of the season, a lot of these European players will have all their families and friends at the game, and without fail, they seem to always kind of play up because of this. Kind of think about during the regular season when a rookie may be making their NHL debut. It's always a prime spot to maybe sprinkle a little bit on them to score a goal, because without fail, these rookies tend to come up and score a goal within the first couple of games of the season that they play. So those are always some nice angles. It's always crazy, especially when those players are playing in their hometown and they got their family and friends there. They always play up to it. And man, the puck just kind of stays on a string with them, and it just kind of finds its way in the back of the net. So keep your eyes out on that all season. But what we're really going to be looking for in the European series that we got coming up are some of those players that may have their families and friends there. And then specifically, if we have any Czechoslovakian players, which I believe Andrzej Palat is. So that is going to be one of my favorite props of the day. Definitely going to be kind of playing his point prop. He's on the New Jersey Devils. Probably will sprinkle his goal prop as well. Yeah, this great comment by Kyle. Gotta stay away from the Euro games. Yeah, weird ice, weird travel, weird outcomes. Yeah, I'm not going to go too hard. It's always really fun because it is going to be those first games of the season. So I definitely want to get into some of those actions. I will have some cheat sheets out tomorrow on my Twitter account, brought to you by Parlay Science. Those will highlight kind of my favorite props. I'm not going to go and do my typical shots on goal sheet. That just kind of highlights my 4 favorite shots on goal props of the day because we only have one game. So let's not try to overdo it here. Let's try to make a nice little bankroll to get into the season. Let's have some fun, but let's not get overly excited about these 2 games. The big match that we'll have is going to be on Tuesday when we're going to have multiple NHL games, including the inaugural Utah Hockey Club first game of the franchise history. So very excited about that. Let's start off with some futures that I love. I'm going to pop into DraftKings just to kind of pull up some odds. If you have not seen, I am part of the Expected Bets 4 podcast. We are breaking down team previews, team by team. You can find all of our stuff on YouTube and then on our Twitter, obviously. So if you want to kind of get caught up and see kind of what our thoughts are team by team, we also talk about all those player props, season-long ones. But if you're in DraftKings or your preferred sport book, now that there are preseason games and actual games, you're going to want to go all the way across. And team futures and awards and player stats is kind of what we're going to be jumping into. I want to talk about some awards. This is always one of my favorite spots to really kind of dig in at the beginning of the season. This is going to be where you're going to find some value. This is where you can be a little bit ahead of the curve of maybe some nice odds on some player performances. To be completely honest, the Rocket, Richard Ward, it's not my favorite right now. Austin Matthews is pretty dominant as far as his goal scoring prowess. I do kind of like this Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid line. It may be one of those things you want to monitor and see how they come out this season, or rather see how Austin Matthews comes out. Of course, he had 69 goals. Bless him. Did not reach that 70 goal mark to kind of tie a historic record for U.S. born players hitting 70 goals in a single season. You know the man's going to be motivated. I think this is a nice bet if you're okay with putting down some units or some cash on a plus 135, but obviously you're not going to get that same value. So he is the odds favorite here. I think it's going to be pretty tough for anybody else to catch him. So again, this isn't one I'm really dabbling in, but if you like to follow that type of prop, go for it. Wow, did they take? Oh, here we go. Art Ross. Hey, Art Ross. I think there's a lot of value right now on Kucherov here. He did win it last season. Of course, Steven Stamkos has left the Tampa Bay Lightning, but they added Gensel. I actually think Gensel is going to be a little bit of an upgrade here. Younger player, underrated playmaker too. I know we kind of think about him as a sniper. So this is a prop I don't mind. The problem is you're going to be going against Connor McDavid every season for the next several years. You're almost banking on McDavid to get injured for him to not have the most points in the regular season. Obviously, last year, McDavid, I do believe, missed a couple games, but the Edmonton Oilers started off very slow. Took them a while to get that offense going, and he still managed to creep back up. I think he finished third in the point total race, if I remember correctly. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments here, though. Now, the Hart is another one that is kind of McDavid's award to lose. This is for most valuable player of the season. But again, he did lose it last year. Nathan MacKinnon did win. Couple notes on the Hart. This is, again, not one I'm too crazy about because I think it's going to be difficult for anyone else but McDavid to win it. But at plus 150, you're at least getting some plus money value here. I am staying away from Nathan MacKinnon. Absolutely. There has not been a back-to-back Hart winner since 2007, 2008 when Alex Ovechkin won it. And before that, it was in kind of the late mid-90s with Dominic Hasek winning it 2 times in a row. It is very rare for this to happen. Again, McDavid did not win it last year. MacKinnon did for his kind of singular performance on the Colorado Avalanche. Makes me want to kind of stay away from MacKinnon. McDavid, again, you're getting plus value on it right now, so I kind of like that. I think Austin Matthews, if he is able to get that 70 goal mark or more, will have to be in that conversation. The real sneaky one here that I just cannot believe is at plus 2,000, though, and we just talked about him, Nikita Kucherov. Again, he won the Art Ross last season. He had the most points of the season in the historic season where he had over 100 assists. This is a very difficult feat to do. And I think if he can repeat this, you got to respect him as somebody who did something kind of uncanny 2 seasons in a row. I think with Stamkos leaving, there's going to be a perception that Kucherov is doing more for the team or he's making a larger impact on the team. At 21 odds, I really, really like this as kind of a sprinkle early in, because if Kucherov is hot and starts hot like he did last season, where he was putting up 2 to 3 points every single night, that odd is going to plummet. Now, the other aspect here is when he went to the All-Star game last year, he kind of looked like a Betzky performance on a Monday morning. Did not look super sharp. Did not look like he really cared to be there all that much. And there was a lot of critique about that and kind of people saying that he shouldn't have gone or should have backed out or should have tried harder. And in the media's perception, it really kind of tainted what Kucherov was actually doing throughout the regular season. I bring that up because I actually like that as an angle for him to bounce back and potentially win MVP of the season. Because if he is one of the finalists for the Art Ross, so most points in the season again. If he breaks another 100 assists season, which is going to be difficult, but it could happen. And without Stamkos, he may have a higher goal to assist ratio. I think this may be a situation where the league wants to award him this, especially because they kind of dismissed him last season. Again, I think it's going to be very tough for anybody to bounce McDavid out. I think this season is going to be McDavid's award to lose. But I think if other players give the league a reason to award someone else the Hart, the league will take their opportunity to do so, because McDavid is going to be winning it a lot in the next couple seasons while he is in his prime. So again, if you want to take a full unit on Connor McDavid while still at plus odds like that, and then sprinkle somebody like Kucherov at plus 2,000, I really like that angle. Another one that I think is a little sneaky here is Draisaitl. It's almost like McDavid insurance, because if McDavid goes down for a long stretch, Draisaitl could be kind of the guy to help prop up Edmonton and help them get to the playoffs. He could also have a very good shot of being one of the top scorers in the league because of it. Jack Hughes is somewhat interesting to me as well, but man, the guy has struggled to stay healthy, and that whole team is pretty stacked. I mean, you could make some arguments that Nico Hischier is one of the more important people on that team. They have great forward depth. They have one of the best top fours in the league right now for the blue line. So I don't know if they will have the same perception as some of these other guys who will kind of have singular performances on their team. Now, Norris, best defenseman of the year. Cale Makar, I have talked about this before. Top chatters and I both kind of agree that he's one of the most important players in the league. I think what McDavid has done the past couple seasons has really solidified him as the best player currently in hockey. But man, Makar is a close second when you watch that man play. His skating is unbelievable, buttery smooth. The amount of points he can put up as an offensive defenseman is incredible, but his defensive prowess is right up there as well. Plus 200 odds are favorite here. I love that you're kind of doubling up on your bet here early into the season. But again, the Norris one typically is whichever defenseman scores the most. We saw this with Erik Karlsson a couple seasons ago, 2 seasons ago, where he put up over 100 points on the San Jose Sharks. I was one of the early people on Erik Karlsson that season. I believe I got him, I would need to look back, but at least plus 6,000, if not more. So I always like kind of taking a little bit of a long shot here, because a lot of it is kind of how you project that team to do. It's kind of anybody's race here. As long as you're a high scoring defenseman, you got a good shot. That does make me kind of fade guys like Charlie McAvoy here. Victor Hedman right now is just not, he's a little bit older. He's just not the same as what he used to be. So outside of Makar, the favorite, some other bets I like here. Quinn Hughes won it last season. I think that's going to be a tall order for him to win it again. I am not wanting to get tricked by this. Miro Heiskanen was kind of a darling last season, had nice some odds preseason. He put up over 73 points 2 years ago, but kind of slid down to, I think, 63 last season. Thomas Harley is now on the Dallas Stars, and he is kind of making a case for being one of the better offensive defensemen on that team. I think that may mean Heiskanen will kind of play a little bit more of a two-way game. Time will tell. Obviously, that's one of the better offenses in the league. Adam Fox, same kind of situation to me as a Quinn Hughes situation. Again, very, very good offensive defenseman, a very, very good offense here. I don't mind that one, but the two that I really love here, Evan Bouchard, he had over 80 points last season. He had, I think it was 35 points in 23 playoff games, or maybe it was 33 points in 25 playoff games. Seems in the past 2 seasons, he's elevated his game during the playoffs, and he was an absolute force last year. Again, he is on Edmonton Oilers, which means he gets to quarterback the power play with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. Oh boy, I think this is a very good candidate for the defenseman who puts up the most points. I don't know if that means that the media perception is that he is just a benefactor of McDavid and Draisaitl, though. So the one I really love here is Roman Josi, man. plus 1,200. I cannot believe this line has not moved much. I think if you are wanting to get some really tasty, spicy odds here, Roman Josi is the way to go. Nashville Predators loaded up this offseason. They added Brady Shea on the defense to be potentially Roman Josi's partner. I think that's going to allow Roman to go roam a little bit more than he typically gets to. This is somebody who has won the Norris Trophy before. He had the most points as a defenseman a couple seasons ago. I think it was the year before Erik Karlsson, but actually lost to Cale Makar. But this season, they added Jonathan Marchessault, who is one of the top goal scorers in the West. Steven Stamkos to this lineup. Again, Brady Shea, like I mentioned. This is a Predators team who has really acquired a lot of pieces to make a run for it this year. This was a Predators team who had a pretty solid power play, and offense at times. I remember it was dipping into the top 5. We can take a look at shot props to see where they ended in the season. But it was really a one-line team of Ryan O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg, and Nyquist at that time. And now you have a second line that is potentially Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, and maybe one of their younger guys like Novak. I think that this is a team that could really turn some heads. I think Roman Josi is always one of the favorites for this award. He is a little bit older now, but I really feel like this is maybe the last season that he can win it. And that may be my favorite out of any of the awards for kind of those really tasty, juicy odds there. So you can see it from Shot Props website. Nashville ended up 10th best for goals for per game. They shot the 8th most. And they had the 16th best power play. You got to expect that to go up. Have to expect that to go up. So if you want to say that Roman Josi had a quote unquote down year last year, and I think, gosh, I'll need to look it up. I think he still had about 70 points or so. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody's in the comments and wants to kind of grab that, that's more power to you. I'll give you a double thumbs up. I'll give you a gold sticker, whatever I can do. Then I think this is a solid bet for a big bounce back performance. I think at 1,200, you're getting fantastic value here. I think he is kind of a singular defenseman where, again, somebody like Evan Bouchard, you may be able to make the argument that he is benefiting from being on a team with Connor McDavid. I just don't think Heiskanen has that same offensive output. And again, that's a team that gets scoring up and down the lineup. They're very good at 5-on-5 scoring. I just really, really like Roman Josi at plus 1,200. Maybe that's one of those things. Take Cale Makar, hedge a little bit with Roman Josi. But one of those things to keep your eye out. I mean, you can always grab a defenseman that's getting really hot early into the season and kind of take that ride too. But yeah, those are kind of my favorites there. Vezina, goaltender of the year. I kind of think this is Igor Shesterkin's award to lose this season. It just feels prime for him. Swayman, I would not want to be holding one of those tickets right now. If you got him earlier in the season, I think right now is your best bet to make a hedge bet against him. He's having contract issues with the Boston Bruins. There's trade rumors, all this noise right now. And that is not good for a goalie's mental fatigue. So that is someone I'm staying away from. I really like UC Saros here. Again, we just talked about Nashville, all the upgrades they've made this season. I think UC Saros is a very interesting play here. Ottinger, I just need to see a little bit more. I think, again, you could maybe make the argument that his expected saves for or expected goals against are going to be a little bit different because of how good that team is. Hellebuck won it last season. It's not one that I'm ready to dip in. Again, he had a phenomenal season, but man, goalies are voodoo. They may have the most yo-yo type of career where one season they are up, the next season they are down. They kind of remind me of quarterbacks in the NFL in that capacity, where truly the only elite ones are going to be a elite QB season to season. The other one I really have my eye on is Vasilevsky. Tampa Bay did some nice moves this offseason. Yes, they lost Mikhail Sergachev to the Utah Hockey Club. I think this will hurt their defensive depth, but they brought back Ryan McDonough, who has had some of the best seasons of his career playing for Tampa. Vasilevsky is healthy. He missed a lot of time. I don't think he was playing until mid-November last season, and he just never seemed right. Going back to that idea of goalies are voodoo, goalies have yo-yo type careers. If you want to say that last year was the down year and you want to bet that this is going to be the up year at plus 1100, I kind of like that. The more and more I talked about Tampa Bay this offseason with the guys in Expected Bets 4, the guys on Puckett, which is our hockey show every Tuesday at 5:30 Eastern on the Betting News Network. The more I thought about Tampa, the more I like them. I like them to have a pretty solid bounce back season, all things considered. Yes, they lost Steven Stamkos, but I do think this may even kind of motivate people to take that next step, take more leadership qualities, and play, I don't know, up for what the perception is of the team. All right, I'm just going to talk about Calder and then one Jack Adams, so then we can move on to tomorrow's game, since we've been doing the stream for quite a bit. Again, thank you guys all for coming. I'm Gretzky Betzky. You can find me at Twitter at Gretzky Betskys, plural. You can find me on the Betting News every Tuesday at 5:30 for Puckett and all my articles, which I will have a few out per week. You can find me on the Clean Hits Hockey Podcast, which is a Utah Hockey Club based podcast and blog. You can find all my written work there about the team. Join us for post games. I'll be doing some betting specific stuff for them as well. And then, of course, you can find me on the Parlay Science Discord. That's where you'll find all of my parlays, all of my straights, all my bets every single day. And we got a great chat room there. You can come hang out with me. I do have a link in my Twitter bio and my link tree for the Parlay Science that will get you a certain percent off. I want to say 25% off for life. So if you want to join an awesome gambling community, I definitely recommend that. And then, of course, you can use promo code Betzky, BETZKY, on things like Prize Picks, Sleeper app, and Chalkboard for all your DFS, or for props.cash for 25% off your first month. And then, yeah, I get those deposit matches for Sleeper and all that fun stuff. I'll make a banner real quick while we talk about the Calder. So the Calder is Rookie of the Year. This year feels wide open. It is one of the most interesting awards, I think. Sorry, just typing here. We'll pop this up. I think Mishkov has a very good chance of winning this, and getting 3-1 odds on it feels really nice this early into the season. He's on the Philadelphia Flyers. This was a guy that in the Connor Bedard draft year, a lot of people thought was almost as talented. Some NHL draft guys thought he was more talented than Bedard. You could make that argument. Came over from the KHL, that is the Continental Hockey League in Russia, which also means that he was playing against pros. So ex-NHL players will go play in the KHL. Men who have been playing hockey for a long time are in the KHL. It is arguably one of the most competitive leagues in the world. And he has been playing against that caliber of player for the past 2 seasons. I think 2 years ago, his draft year, he was playing kind of in between some of the leagues and the more minor leagues in the KHL. Last year, he was primarily playing in the KHL. Comes over to the U.S. this year. He's going to make his debut on the Philadelphia Flyers. Prime playmaker. The Calder, much like the Norris, is pretty much whichever rookie scores the most is going to win it. I think he has a fantastic shot of winning this award. And again, plus a 3-1 odds. That is one of my favorites as far as the more chalky bets here. Macklin Celebrini was the first overall pick in this year's NHL draft. He goes to the San Jose Sharks. I want to talk about somebody else on the San Jose Sharks. Will Smith, another center, 4th overall in the 2023 NHL draft, plus 1,300 odds. These two players are going to be kind of the first and second line centers for this team. They are both very young, and this is a team that's offense does not look very good. I am not very high on these players' ability to win the Calder Award, even though I think they are both going to be very good players down the road. I don't think that the Sharks are going to have the type of offense you need to be able to support a Calder winner. I could be totally wrong here, but I am just not as high on these two. Logan Stankoven, fantastic name. Got to play about 20 games last year, which is right under the maximum amount of games you can play before you are not eligible for the Calder Award. He is a little bit older, plays for the Dallas Stars, had a phenomenal playoff run, had a phenomenal 20-game stint at the NHL. It's not totally clear what line he is going to be on, but this is a guy who has already played NHL games, has already had some success. At plus 600, I really like Stankoven as an option here. The other one that I am now a little bit more soured on is Lane Hutson. He is a defenseman who is in NCAA, had some fantastic seasons. I think he was on BU or BC. Correct me if I'm wrong. On Montreal Canadiens, a player who is probably going to be running the power play. He's a defenseman, though, which will make it more difficult for him to win this award. But that Montreal offense looks good this year. Do not sleep on them. Now, the reason why I mentioned I'm soured on them a little bit more is because Patrick Laine, who was a 40-goal scorer back in the day when he was on the Winnipeg Jets, has come over to the Canadiens in the trade this offseason from the Columbus Blue Jackets. And unfortunately, he had a fairly serious knee injury in the preseason. He will be out for, I believe, 6 weeks or so. I was really excited about what he could bring to that power play and that offense in general. So now they are going to be without him for some time. Who knows what his ability will be once he comes back. So I do think that hurts Lane Hutson's chances a little bit. So again, Mishkov is a nice chalky bet here. I like Stankoven as kind of my hedge, if you will. And then if I'm going for a long shot here, there's a couple options I really like. Dustin Wolf and Askarov are both goalies. Just ignore it. Especially Askarov, who is on the San Jose Sharks. This next block, Kovalenko and Cyplikov. Kovalenko is on the Colorado Avalanche, is another player coming from Russia. Same as Cyclopov. These are guys who may be injected high up on their team's roster because of the lack of depth. So Kovalenko, again, on Colorado Avalanche, right now he's projected to be on the second line. That means he's potentially playing on the top power play unit with McKinnon and McCarr and maybe playing with Rantanen if they want to spread that offense out. He could have a very hot start. To me, he is one to keep your eye on and see where he ends up in the roster when they start playing those first games. If he comes out and looks fantastic game one, I am putting a small bet on him. Cyplikov is a similar situation, but for the Islanders, this is a team that does not have much winger depth, much high-skilled guys. If he is going to play on that second line right out the gate and he looks good in those first couple games, yes, I am willing to take the long shot bet here. I like Kovalenko a little bit more for some reasons because that's a much better offense. But unfortunately, for Kovalenko, Valeri Nichushkin and Lehkonen could be coming back. Both are top six forwards. That may push him down a little bit if he does not have a hot start. So again, these are kind of those two dark horse wild cards. The last one I really like is Josh Stone. Utah Hockey Club fans had probably been watching him in preseason. He has looked fantastic. He came in and played the last 5 games for the Arizona Coyotes. His dad was the longtime captain of the Arizona Coyotes. Heart and soul type player. I believe he had 5 goals in those games that he played. Let me look that one up real quick. Plus 5,000. Again, along the other big factor here is he can get sent back down to the 2 road runners. He is young enough. He's 22 to where he can still learn a lot down there. He played 11 games last season with 5 goals and 4 assists for 9 points. So 9 points in the last 11 games of this season, Josh Stone. This was not somebody I was too excited for initially. In the Calder race, I think he's a great prospect. I can't wait for him to become a staple for the Utah Hockey Club. But Nick Bukestad, who plays third line center for the Utah Hockey Club, is out until mid-November. Josh Doan has looked fan-fucking-tastic in preseason. And there's a chance that if Barrett Hayton, who has come out slow season after season, comes out slow again offensively, I think Josh Doan has potential to be moved up to the top line with Keller and Schmaltz, or has potential to be playing on the top power play unit as a center. They have been playing him at center most of this preseason. This is a team that lacks center depth outside of Logan Cooley. Barrett Hayton, again, still need to see what he is exactly. There's a lot of opportunity for Josh Doan to come on to this team and make an impact. And again, Utah Hockey Club last season, let's go over to Shot Props' website. Take a look down at Arizona. Rest in peace. Now, Utah, they were tied with LA Kings for the 16th best for goals for. This was a power play that was 15th, so kind of dead even, a little bit better than dead even in the league. This is an offense that is getting better and better, especially with the additions of guys like Dylan Gunther and Logan Cooley going into their sophomore seasons. For plus 5,000 odds, yes, it's very risky. I'm not saying put your mortgage on it or anything, but I really like that as another sprinkle. Again, I think the Calder odds and race is kind of wide open this season. There are a lot of options here. And because of that, someone like Mishkov is at plus 300, where we saw Bedard last year like open at minus 120. So you're getting tons of value here. My buddy Fam, shout out to Fam, Columbus to win the cup. Yeah, good luck, buddy. All right, last award I want to talk about, and then we'll get into tomorrow's games. Jack Adams is Coach of the Year. Sheldon Keefe, I really like this as an option on the Jersey Devils. Will be first year here with the Devils. He has a chance to really kind of have this team explode. They got their goaltending figured out a little bit with the addition of Jacob Markstrom. Hopefully they can stay healthy. Last year was just kind of a disaster with injuries, missed the playoffs. There's a narrative here that if they can be one of the top teams in the league and make the playoffs again, that will help Sheldon Keefe's ability to win this award. Craig Berube on Toronto Maple Leafs. They're going to need a lot to go right to have him win the Jack Adams, I think. I think they will need to be one of the top teams in the league. Never know. Potentially could be, but I think that is a tough order because of how solid that roster is and how many superstars are on it. You can make the argument that it's the superstars, not him. Here's where it gets interesting to me. Travis Green on Ottawa, a team that has been struggling and fighting to make the playoffs. This is a roster that is turning around. They just got Linus Ullmark from Boston for goaltending. If they surprise a lot of people, have a good season and make the playoffs, I think this is a nice narrative for the league and a nice bet to make. Andre Tournier for the Utah Hockey Club. Yes, I am a little biased and I do not care. Another great candidate here. He is beloved by his players. This is a team that finished bottom 6 last year, last 2 seasons, actually. Bottom 3rd the season before that. If Tournier can get this team into the playoffs, I think this is his award to lose. I think you can make the narrative that the league would like to kind of promote Utah a little bit, and giving them an award like this would look really nice at the end of the season. I don't expect any of the players to win a player award. Maybe Mikhail Sergachev is a nice, real long shot for Norris, but outside of that, I think the rest of them are not anything I would want to bet. So I think the narrative's here. I do have some money on this bet. I really, really think that Tournier has a nice shot as long as that team performs. So those are some of my favorites in the award section. I know we didn't really talk about the player points and goals. I do have articles on bettingnews.com. Under the NHL section, you can kind of find some of my favorite player props angles for season-long bets. But, man, we've been talking a while already. So let's jump over to tomorrow's game. Again, I got props.cash up. Use code Betzky if you want 25% off your first month. Fantastic betting tool. If you want NBA data, NHL data, NFL data, this is the best time to grab it early into the season. Start to figure out kind of how all the charts work. It's one of those situations, once you get it, you never want it to go away. It feels like it would be heavy lifting to get all your research in without it if you want to do capping on your own. Okay, so we got New Jersey Devils playing against Buffalo Sabres in Czechoslovakia. As I mentioned before, it's in Europe. European players, friends and family will be at the game. They will be loud. They will be noticed. So I do have a bias towards some of those players. We do have bigger ice, which means shots on goal. This sucks. And goals are probably going to be a little bit harder to come by. Bigger ice is wider, which means, there's more space, which means more shooting lanes, but also more distance to cover. The smaller ice in National America just leads to a speedier game, lots of action kind of in front of the net. Some of our shots on goal darlings are on both of these teams, guys that I'm going to be looking for all season. Alex Tuck, we're kind of seeing their last 10 games that they played. Buffalo Sabres, he's a guy who kind of was up and down last season, but has had really strong road versus home splits. So somebody to pay attention to and kind of see which way those splits may go this season. Kind of a guy who can get in front of the net and cause a little bit of havoc. The nice thing here is you generally get some decent odds. Minus 130 may not be the most sexy number you can find, but hell, it beats somebody like JJ Peterka, who is minus 175 right now. But as you can see, last 10 games, when he got promoted to that top line with Tage Thompson, really, really exploded. Now, one of my favorite tools on props.cash is not only seeing if they hit their line or not, but the shot attempts, which is critical. So this chart right down here, to me, this is one of the best indicators of somebody that I am willing to put into a parlay. I don't lean into it as heavy for straights, because that I want to look more about the opponent, how much shots they allow, maybe that player getting some momentum. But shot attempts for parlays, I want guys who are shooting a lot to give me confidence to put them in a parlay, because I do not want them to be the one that spoils it because they shoot 3 times. And yes, they've been hitting their shots on goal line, but every single shot has hit the goaltender. Shot attempts gives me the volume idea of what I'm looking for here. So you can see at this point in the last 10 games of the season, he averaged 7 shots a game. Here's a 12 shot performance, or attempt performance, 11 shot performance against shot attempt performance against Detroit. Now, what this means is they are trying to shoot the puck and it either gets blocked by someone else, gets deflected by a defender, or goes wide of the net. If they are shooting a lot, however, it generally relates right back to whether those pucks do get onto the goaltender. So in this case, you can see JJ Peterka of the Buffalo Sabres has hit his shots on goal prop 8 of the last 10 games of the season last year, and his shot attempt volume was very high. Of course, with props.cash, you can look at full season numbers. It was a little bit more up and down, but really kind of solidified near the end of the season when he got on that top line. This is somebody that I would like for a parlay. He is also German, so there is a good chance that he will have friends and family at this game. This is a guy that, if we move over to his point prop, minus 135, yes, that chart doesn't look as nice, but again, he's a young player on the top line with the Buffalo Sabres with Tage Thompson. I believe he's going to be on the top power play. That is why I think this is a nice little piece and will probably make my sheet. Because he's European too, and he will probably have friends and family here, you got to like his goal a little bit too. Plus 195, this is a guy who loves shooting the puck. This will be a guy who wants to impress his friends and family. If he doesn't score tomorrow, then I am going to double down and take him for the following game as well. One other tool that I'll highlight too when I do my research is daily faceoff or left wing lock. I kind of go between both of them. Daily faceoff, Frank Saravelli, the man who is on the Clean Hits podcast this week, helped get this thing going. Line combos. You can go to whichever team you're looking for. So if we want to look at Buffalo Sabres, we can see who's playing with who. Generally, you can see when it was last updated and the source. So you can go straight to that link. I can see the defensive pairings, and really importantly here, I can see who is on the top power play unit. So in this case, all right, JJ Peterka is, Jack Quinn is as well. That makes that a little spicy. Rasmus Dahlin, the Swedish-born defenseman who is kind of an offensive dynamo as well, top power play quarterback. That is going to be a guy that I will be looking at, maybe for Sogs, but definitely for a point. I know that is going to be more of a parlay piece because his point is, wow, plus 105. So you can see your odds right here. That looks really tasty. Holy cow. This is a guy last season that there were times that he was scoring all the time. Plus 105, I actually figured was going to be his assist. You can, on props.cash, do your home and away splits. I think this was the case, yes. Had a point in 60% of all road games last season. This is technically on the road. I really, really like that. I will probably be locking that on and putting that in my sheet. Again, another European player on Buffalo Sabres. Really interesting to see that at plus money. I'll need to shop around and make sure that that line is accurate, but that looks really tasty to me. So JJ Peterka, shots on goal, looks like it could be a nice parlay piece. I think he'll be motivated. I really like his goal. And then his point looks pretty nice as well. Rasmus Dahlin, you could even maybe take his assist here, plus 135. Wow. Just as defensemen generally score less than forwards do, so you get some extra value there. Again, another European player. His shots are kind of an up and down affair. I do believe he was much better away all season. Last 10, he had 7 out of the last 10. He was 57% on the road last year. I may tamper the shots, the Sogs, if you will, for these first couple games and really kind of stick with some of the shots on goal darlings once we get back to the NHL North American size ice. So I don't know how many shots on goal props I'm going to go into for these first 2 games. And again, I am going to be a little chalky at the start of the season. Obviously, I'm going to be looking for some value when players get hot, but for the most part, I do like to kind of lean into some of the bigger names initially. Tage Thompson, obviously a force, had a down year, was one of all the NHL capping community's favorite shot on goal props 2 seasons ago. Last year, apparently had a nagging wrist injury, just wasn't the same. Keeping my fingers crossed that he has a bounce back year, because this is a guy who can cash out in the first period. Speaking of Lumbus fam, Tage is somebody who just absolutely destroys them. I think he had 4 goals in the first period against them 2 seasons ago when he was really hot. So really, really like some of those Tage Thompson props once he gets going. But maybe something I back off initially. His point prop minus 150. That may be nice for a parlay if you want. Again, that first line for Buffalo looks really good. That second line has somebody named Zach Benson, who debuted in the NHL last year, was a 2023 NHL draft pick. I think it was 12th overall, playing with the reliable Dylan Cousins and then another young stud, Jack Quinn. That line looks really dangerous to me, and that is going to be one of those lines that throughout the season I'm going to be kind of digging in for value. I think this is going to be a line that is more productive than the books are expecting initially, and I think this is going to be a line you can take advantage of pretty early on in the season. These are all national or North American players, though. So maybe one of those things that I want to kind of wait and see for game one, especially in Europe. Again, I am leaning heavily in that Europe kind of narrative here. So it is almost the top of the hour. Let's talk about the jersey side, and maybe I'll do another quick little stream tomorrow as well. But definitely look out for my cheat sheets. Those will be coming out almost every day of the week, and those are brought to you by Parlay Science. Don't forget, you can find a discount for the Parlay Science Discord within my link tree on my Twitter account, Gretzky Betzkys with an S at the end. Jack Hughes, another shots on goal darling last year, had some injury issues. Let me see. Do I have any filters on? No. So hit his shots on goal 3.5 line 57% of the season. I think there was a point where he was at 4.5, especially against teams like the Sharks and Ducks, who allow a ton of shots on goal. Getting this at minus 130 feels pretty good. This should be a player that's going to be very motivated to come out hot. As you saw when we were talking about the awards, he was one of the favorites for the Hart MVP of the season. Ched's Top Cheddar came on the Expected Bet New Jersey Devils preview and laid down a very spicy prop. I believe his goal total for the season is 35, but on books like DraftKings and I believe FanDuel, you can alt up, and 40 goals for Jack Hughes. It was, I think, around plus 200 to 300. Again, I'm kind of shooting at the hip here. And I know Chad's likes him all the way up to plus 50 goals on the season. That's going to be tough for him to do, but you never know. He is one of the best goal scorers in the league, and I think that was in the plus 1,000s, if I remember correctly. Again, odds may have shifted. I could be completely off here. I'm shooting at the hip a little bit here. Give me a break. Anyways, I do like that alting up to 40 goals for him. Game one, again, has an insane shot attempt volume all season long. He averaged 8.4 shot attempts per game. This is somebody that I am not scared to ride right from the get-go. Of course, Jack Hughes, if go daily face-off, it's fine. Jersey kind of shifts up and down the top two lines, but the way Jersey kind of deploys their lines is they both get pretty equal time on ice. Looks like he's technically on the top line right now with Timo Meier and Jesper Bratt. Bratt being a great playmaker, Meier being a shooter, kind of a shoot first guy. And then obviously Hughes is on the top power play. He does play kind of in that half wall area, which definitely allows him to be a little bit more of a playmaker there. So yeah, his shots on goal is one. Again, I'm ready to just jump right into. Game one, I'm not as worried about him as someone like Tage, who can be a very good shots on goal prop at times. His point prop, though, however, at 1.5, meaning he needs 2 points. Again, points are a goal or an assist, is not one I am going to be looking into, especially in the European ice. This is going to be a play that I will love to take throughout the season, especially home games. You can see right now it's plus 175. Just fantastic value, and that's something that, depending on the matchup, is something that they will be going back to over and over again. Now, Andrei Palat is the resident Czech on the team, on both teams. He is on the third line, but this is a deep roster, and deep rosters that have kind of secondary scoring can often mismatch against their opponents. You can also see he does play on the second power play unit, same spot as Jack Hughes, so it looks like he's on that half wall, which allows him to get a little bit more playmaking. Andrei Palat, I don't believe, has a point prop. Nope. But Andrei Palat for a goal, as Sweatpants Jesus always says, plus 525 in his home country. Yes, please. This is something that I will sprinkle both games, especially if he doesn't score game one. We see this year over year. Tomas Hertl last season scored in Czechoslovakia as well. this is one of those cases where these guys show up when they are playing in Europe with in front of fans and family, and if they're actually from the country, it just makes it even better. So that is definitely one of those props I will be leaning into and sprinkling a little bit. I like the Jack Hughes shots on goal. I like JJ Peterka shots on goal. That's more of a parlay piece. I like JJ Peterka goal. I like Rasmus Dahlin point prop a whole lot. Let's see what other value here. Our boy Dougie Hamilton is back. This would be one of those ones that I'm willing to go in on the shots on goal early. Again, plays top power play unit. The larger ice, the defensemen are going to find a little bit more open ice and some extra lanes. Coming back from injury, I think he's going to be extremely motivated. Other point props here, though. Jesper Bratt, top line. Give me his assists, plus 124. Yeah, that looks pretty good. If you think Hughes is going to score, Timo Meier is going to score, you got to believe Jesper Bratt is going to be in on that. Nico Hischier is one of those guys who is very good with his shots on goal at home, if I remember correctly. Or maybe he was away. Away, wow. Okay. I think he's Swiss. Correct me if I'm wrong. Played in Nova Scotia for juniors. Not one I'm going to be ready to just jump into right away, but obviously once they are back on North American ice, he's a prop that I will love all season long. Those may be the big ones that I'm looking to get in on for tomorrow. Maybe make a little same game parlay with them. I'm not touching Timo Meier shots yet. What's his point look at? Minus 165, kind of ugly. But yeah, for some singular value, that Dahlin prop looks fantastic. Andre Palat goal, JJ Peterka goal, and its shots. I think Tage Thompson's only a point. Minus 150. That's kind of a nice parlay piece, especially since he plays with Peterka. Yeah, that's kind of what I like the most for tomorrow. I'll probably eke in there and try to find a little bit more value. Leave a comment if you got any questions as we wrap this up. Again, promo code Betzky on Prize Picks, Sleeper, and Chalkboard DFS apps. If you are in Utah, tuning in from Utah, you can use all three of those apps in Utah. That allows you to play with some player prop entries. Prize Picks is a ton of fun. Sleeper gives you some nice alts, same as Chalkboard. Chalkboard has some of the best discounts out of all the DFS books. Those Sleeper and Chalkboard promos will give you a deposit match up to $100 with code Betzky. Prize Picks, you will get a $50 for your first $5 entry. Prize Picks, again, ton of fun. If you're not on it, jump on that. And then code Betzky for props.cash for 25% off. Again, let me know if you guys have any questions. And I am Gretzky Betzky, part of the Parlay Science Discord. That's where you'll find all my plays all season. I do post free plays on Twitter. I post my cheat sheets on Twitter. And then you can find me as part of the Clean Hits podcast and blog, where you can find all my written content and podcasting about the Utah Hockey Club. We also have a Discord as well. Really fun community. If you're looking for a second team or maybe your first NHL favorite team, come join us. I'm in there chopping it up with everybody all the time. Parlay Science Discord, obviously, as well. We have a lot of fun in there. We got to figure out who's going to be doing that first puck drop. If there's any Parlay Science members in here, let me know if you want to volunteer. I'll definitely be doing a video as well. And then otherwise, I think that is it, boys and gals. Hockey's back, baby. I am extremely excited. I think this season's going to be a lot of fun. I think we're going to see a little bit of value back on our props. Last season, the books kind of made a hard stance to make things a little bit tougher to bet on. 2 years ago, they did kind of mention that they lost the most money off of hockey. Odds kind of got nuked a little bit. I think this year they're going to want to kind of make some adjustments to kind of get people excited about it again. So early on in the season as well, you get a lot of your best value. going to be shooting at the hips a little bit more because we won't have all that data, especially how teams are performing now that they have new roster players and whatnot. But that's where you want to take advantage of it. Anyways, I am Betzky. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I don't post much on those two yet. I am planning to this season. We're going to have a lot of fun this season. So come join us. Get in any of those Discords. Find us on Clean Hits. I'm rambling at this point, so I'm going to sign off. Anyways, it's almost Friday. Have a nice thirsty Thursday, if you will. Slam a couple Coors Lights. Have some fun. And don't do anything Betzky wouldn't do. All right, everybody. Adios. We know we're running it now. Watch the game change. Watch the game change. Watch the game change.